is Lady Boulain. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. We keep hearing Africans and various groups of African descended people coming to the United States saying that they're not black, they don't identify as black, or I didn't know I was black until I got to the United States. Interestingly enough, in the comments section a few days ago, when that came up, somebody said, these black people are lying. They live in African countries with Indians and British and all of these other groups of people, and they are calling them all sorts of names. So they're lying when they say they didn't know they were black. But I'm going with the idea that they say they didn't know they were black. Now this woman on the screen is a Nigerian writer, a very famous Nigerian writer, and a good Nigerian writer, because I've read several books, and she is a good writer. Her name, and I'm going to try not to butcher her name is Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Now, that's my best. But she has been saying that ever since she came to the United States, she became black when she got to America. I saw her being interviewed in England or Ireland or somewhere like that, and she was still talking about that. And I believe them. I believe that it is a shock to a lot of African descended people to know that people will actually judge you by your skin tone, not your character, not what you know how to do, not your gifts, your skin color. They will. Now there's a couple of reasons why you're defined by your skin tone in America. Number one, that was the color of the enslaved people. So that was one distinction. The second distinction is that white Americans learned really early that black people are more gifted than they are in many areas. All you got to do is take a trip to the African American Museum at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. to prove that. But to maintain that superiority, they made it all about skin color because we were never going to be white. So there is a method to the madness. It's just wrong and unjust and unfair. But in the system that we're operating in, it actually makes sense in a senseless system. She writes, America is indeed unlike any other country in the world, not in the kind of triumphalist manner of those who speak of exceptionalism, but because while it was created from violence, like many other modern nations, it also claimed plurality, an unusual notion for founding a nation. This plurality, this churning mix of those voluntarily and involuntarily American, living on land that did not belong to them, magnified rather than diminished identity. In Nigeria, I had often thought about who I was, writer, dreamer, thinker, but only in America did I consider what I was. So this is the climax. She says, I became black in America. It was not a choice. My chocolate-colored skin saw to that. But a revelation. I had never before thought of myself as black. I did not need to, because while British colonialism in Nigeria left many cursed legacies in its wake, racial identity was not one of them. Had I been raised in Eastern or Southern Africa with their own insidious inheritances of history, perhaps I might thought of myself in terms of skin color. In Nigeria, I was Igbo and Roman Catholic. Well, that should be a problem right there, Roman Catholic. And even then, growing up on a genteel university campus, neither had a significant bearing on the way I moved through the world. Well, honey, when you said you were a Roman Catholic in Africa, that said it all. Because even though people talk about the Jews, the Catholic Church was the beginning of the decimation of Africa, the transatlantic slave trade, colonialism, and all of the other atrocities that have happened in Africa. The Catholic Church has as much hand in it as anybody. To be black in America was to feel bulldozed by the weight of history and stereotypes, to know that race was always a possible reason or cause or explanation for the big and small interactions that make up fragile lives. To be black was to realize that it was impossible for people to approach one another with the simple wonder of being human without the specter of race lying somewhere in the shadows. To be black was to feel, in different circumstances, frustration, anger, irritation, and wry amusement. It also brought the rare wealth of discovering African American literature, those stories full of such graceful grit. Black American writing instructed and delighted me, and I must have at some unconscious level wanted to contribute to that tradition, but obliquely as someone standing outside American culture, a black person without America's blighted history. So her observations are correct. Race is at the heart of everything to do with America. I think this is another black immigrant who came to the United States with high expectations. They believe that America is what America says it is abroad. And then they get here and they find out it's something completely different. To her credit, she has observed what goes on in America, and she has taken the time to learn Black American history and read Black American literature. So that puts her in a different class than most of the immigrants that come here. You can't just be a person in America. You gotta be a black person or a white person. And we all wish it wasn't that way, but that's the way it is. But these black people in America who've been here for hundreds of years are the mystery. What are they doing here? Because we really are a unique and distinct people that are woven into the fabric of the country. And if you take us out of the equation, you don't have America. You might have something, but you don't have America. And it took the lynching of George Floyd to open the world's eyes to what is possible in America. Here you have a black man on the ground, handcuffed, surrounded by police, begging for his life, and he did not make it. That was a powerful message and a powerful revelation about America. Black Americans did not have to say a word. The event spoke for itself, and that opened the eyes of any black immigrant or any black person or any African descended person who has a modicum of understanding. That would have opened their eyes about what can and will happen in America. She writes, shortly after the black American George Floyd was murdered by a white police officer, a woman told me she had just read Americana. You are a prophet. You foresaw this, she said. Well, I'm not sure that made her a prophet, because black American people could have foretold that. Just about any black person could have foretold that. That has happened in America on a routine basis. But for her, apparently, it was an awakening for what America is versus what she thought or what she wanted America to be. So she says that she became black in America, how America made her black. But her eyes were opened. America is not all bad, and America is not all good. It's just that people buy into something called the American dream, and they come here in pursuance of the American dream. And then they get these people over here to the left, black people, who become a mystery until they open their eyes to see what America is and is not. And I would hope that when black people come to the United States of America and see what it is and see how it can be relative to race, instead of seeing being black as a weakness and run around saying, oh, it's just a social construct, it's just a social construct. Yes, it is, but at the end of the day, it's just a word. The black experience in America is a strong experience. It's a beautiful experience. It's an experience that tests what the human being can go through and survive, and not only survive, but thrive. It's an experience of survival, of achievements, accomplishments. When you look on the world stage and you see Americans excelling in extraordinary ways, very often those Americans are black, and their families got here by way of the transatlantic slave system, and they are none the worse for wear. To look at a black American as someone in a diminished state whose family members were enslaved, what you can say about black Americans is that we transcended that situation. We transcended slavery and became greater than the slave master. You cannot find a stronger experience of people who kept their sanity and their identity together in spite of the atrocities that they went through than black Americans. So for people to think that there's something negative or something weak, those are just words that other people have put on us. The reality is we have a very rich history and culture, and we'll put ours up against anybody's. So I'm glad that she came to the understanding that, yes, this is what America is. And she even said that, she would like to make a contribution to the literature. And in her own way, she has. She is a good writer. Here are 3 of her books that I have read, and they are very good. Purple Hibiscus, Half of a Yellow Sun, and Americana. You might find these delightful if you are a reader. I saw this article in the Atlantic magazine, and when I saw it, I thought, oh my goodness, here we go again. Another immigrant talking about not knowing they were black. But I went ahead and read the article anyway, and I did like the article because I thought her approach was refreshing. She didn't operate from condescension or from stereotypes. She took the time to get to know black Americans through our history, our culture, and I'm sure through her interactions with black Americans. So I can appreciate that. But anyway, y'all, let me know what you think about the video. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.